Welcome back everybody, thank you for watching another video and welcome to part 3 in the final video of this 3-part series of how to replace a bad wheel bearing in your automobile. Now if you haven't had a chance to check out parts 1 and 2, I'll leave links right up here. In part 1 we discuss how to diagnose if you have a bad wheel bearing, and in part 2 we discuss some of the specialty tools you're going to need to remove that without having a hydraulic press. But in part 3, what we're going to do today is pretty much summarize what you're going to see on YouTube, different methods of installing and reinstalling the wheel bearing, and of course different options you have of buying those parts. Let's get into the video. Alright, as you're going through your YouTube videos, you're going to see 2 ways of installing wheel bearings. And number 1 is to leave the whole entire assembly on the car. And part 2 is to take the whole thing off and work on it on a bench. Now I decided to leave the whole wheel knuckle on the car and use the car as my workbench. It supported everything that I needed. Pulling out the hub was very easy. I didn't have to worry about it squirming all over the place. And pushing in the bearing, because it was attached to the car, was very easy. The only difficulty I had was pushing in that snap ring, but you're going to have that difficulty anyway. Everybody has problems with that snap ring because there's no holes in it. Maybe before you get the repair done, go get a replacement snap ring with the holes, so when you put it in, it's going to be a lot easier. But I don't have a bench or a work vise or a hydraulic press to get any of that done, so having the car be my workbench was the choice for me. And of course, the second way to get the repair done is to remove the entire wheel knuckle off the car and work on it on a bench. Now, if you don't have a bench vise or a hydraulic press, it gets a little bit tricky. I've seen some people trying to hold it with their feet and they use a hammer to pound out the hub. To me, for my situation, that was a lot more hassle, so I just elected to keep it on the car. Now, once you've decided to either keep it on the car or take it off the car, there are 3 ways where you can purchase your parts for this replacement. Alright, number 1 is the cheapest way, and that's just to buy the wheel bearing itself, and you're going to reuse the hub if it's not too damaged. Now, the disadvantage of doing it this way is it adds an extra step, because as you yank out the hub, the inner ring or inner race of the bearing is still going to be attached to the hub, and you got to remove that somehow. Let me show you what that looks like. Alright, so here is my old hub, and if we flip it over, we can see right here, not this portion here, but this right around here, that ring is the inside ring, or what's called the inside race of the old bearing. When you yank out the hub, it stays on there, and this is the portion you're going to have to remove. Now, if you buy a whole new assembly, you're just going to put the new hub in. You don't have to worry about taking off this portion here. Now, I've seen 2 methods of removing the inside race from the hub, and that's number 1, getting a grinder and grinding a little gash into it and chipping it off with a screwdriver and it'll break off. Or if you have a tie rod separator, you can get that claw that's going to grab right on this lip, and as you start to tighten the screw down, it'll just eventually pry it off. But again, to save some time and frustration, you can go step 2 and just buy an entirely new assembly, and you don't have to worry about cutting off or pulling off the inside race of the old bearing. Now, another disadvantage of just buying the bearing itself is normally it just comes with just the bearing. You got to make sure that you get all the seals and the brass cap sensor for your ABS sensor. Whatever you need to get the repair done, you got to make sure you have it. So if you're not too experienced with the repairs like me, it's better just to buy number 2 option, which is the complete bearing assembly kit. So buying the complete bearing hub kit is a little bit more expensive, but everything you need is going to be in there for the repair. You don't have to worry about cutting out the inner ring on the hub because you're going to use the new one. So of course the disadvantages are it's a little bit more expensive and you still have to press out the old bearing, press in the new one, and then repress in the hub. And of course the third option really doesn't have disadvantages outside of the fact that it's the most expensive, but to me is worth the money, and that's purchasing the entire wheel knuckle with everything pressed in. Bearings are all installed, all the seals are installed, the hub is pressed in. It's as easy as just unbolting the old one and reinstalling the new one. It's just taking things apart. It is so much easier. It would save you a lot of time and possibly a lot of frustration. Well, alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video series. So if you're thinking about doing this repair, I hope this information helps. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.